Beginning, the signal in the dark. Space is quiet in a way that makes you question your own heartbeat. I've flown long-haul salvage routes for 12 years, and I've learned something most pilots don't talk about. The silence changes you. Out there, beyond trade lanes and military patrol zones, you start noticing things other people ignore. Like a signal that shouldn't exist. It was faint, fragmented. A pulse buried in radiation from a dying red dwarf star on the edge of uncharted space. No registry ID. No distress code signature. Just a repeating burst, almost organic in rhythm. Most captains would have ignored it. I altered course. My ship, the Wayward Mercy, wasn't built for heroics. She was a rugged salvage vessel, patched more times than I could count. But she had good sensors, and better shielding than she looked like she should. As I dropped out of warp near the dwarf star, my screens lit up with debris. Wreckage. Not human. The fragments were sleek and curved, almost bone-like in design. Dark metallic surfaces with crimson etchings that pulsed faintly like veins. Felt a chill. There were stories about ships like this. About the Cythery. Most humans called them vampire aliens. Not because of fangs, though they had those, but because of how they fed. They didn't consume blood the way our myths described. They absorbed bioelectric life energy. Directly. Efficiently. Intimately. Encounters between humans and Cythery were rare. Survivors were rarer. The signal pulsed again. Stronger. It wasn't coming from the wreckage itself. It was coming from something drifting nearby. I maneuvered closer and froze. Body. She floated in vacuum, slowly tumbling, illuminated by the red star's dim glow. Her skin was pale silver, almost translucent, faintly glowing with dying light. Long dark hair streamed around her like ink in water. Tattered organic armor clung to her slender frame. And her eyes, even unconscious, they were faintly lit crimson. Cythery. Alone. Left behind. She should have been dead. Exposure alone would have killed most species. But she wasn't. The signal was coming from her. A biological distress beacon embedded in her nervous system. I stared at the monitor. "This is a bad idea," I muttered. The Cythery were feared for a reason. They were apex predators of the stars. Cold. Strategic. Ruthless when threatened. But this one, she looked small. Broken. Abandoned. I made the decision before I could talk myself out of it. I suited up, cycled the airlock, and launched myself into the void. When I reached her, I hesitated only a second before wrapping my arms around her and activating tether recall. Her body was cold. Too cold. Back inside the ship, I rushed her to the med bay and began scanning. Her internal systems were failing. Severe trauma. Energy depletion at catastrophic levels. Whatever destroyed her ship had nearly killed her. And then her own kind had left her to drift. I should have reported it to the authorities. Instead, I sealed the doors and began working. Middle. The Predator awakens. She woke 3 days later. I was in the cockpit reviewing salvage logs when the ship's internal systems flickered. Power fluctuations spiked across the med bay. Then the gravity cut out for half a second. I grabbed my sidearm, not because I wanted to use it, but because instinct demanded it, and moved cautiously down the corridor. The med bay doors slid open. She stood in the center of the room, barefoot, and steady, but very much alive. Her eyes locked onto mine instantly. Crimson. Aware. Hungry. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then she spoke. "You are not Cythery." Her voice was soft, layered with an echo that didn't quite sound human. "No," I said calmly. "Human." She tilted her head slightly, studying me like I was an anomaly. You should have left me. Probably, I admitted. Her gaze sharpened. Why did you not? I lowered the sidearm slowly and placed it on a nearby console. Because you were dying. A flicker of something passed across her expression. Confusion, perhaps. I am Cytherea, she said. Your kind fears us. Fear doesn't mean I let someone suffocate in space. She swayed slightly. Only then did I realize something critical. She wasn't just injured. She was starving. Cytherea required bioelectric energy to survive. Normally they absorbed it from willing symbiotic partners or from regulated energy farms within their empire. Out here, she had nothing. Her eyes flickered again, more intensely this time. You are vibrant, she whispered. Tensed. Define vibrant. Your life force burns brightly. That wasn't comforting. You're not feeding on me, I said firmly. She closed her eyes briefly, as if wrestling something inside herself. I will not take what is not offered, she said through clenched teeth. That surprised me. You have my word. Her body trembled. Pride warred with desperation in her expression. Finally she sank to one knee. I will perish without sustenance, she said quietly. That wasn't a threat. It was a statement. I hesitated. Every warning I'd ever heard about the Cytherea echoed in my mind. But I had already crossed the line when I brought her aboard. What happens if I let you feed? I asked. She met my gaze steadily. It will not kill you. I will take only what you can spare. And if you lose control. Her jaw tightened. I will not. Trust. It's a strange thing in space. You build it fast or you die. I stepped forward. Show me how. She rose slowly, moving closer. When her hand touched my chest, it wasn't violent. It was careful. Her fingers glowed faintly. Then I felt it. Pull. Not pain, but warmth draining outward, like stepping into cool water after standing in the sun too long. My knees weakened slightly. Her breath caught. The crimson in her eyes brightened, but steadied. Seconds passed. Then she pulled away abruptly. Enough. She stepped back, breathing heavily. I could have taken more, she admitted. But you didn't. No. I exhaled slowly. Well, I said faintly, that's one way to build trust. She studied me for a long moment. I am Caliph Vera of the Cytherea Dominion, she said at last. And I was meant to die. Exile of the bloodborne. Over the next several days, Caliph told me the truth. The Cytherea were divided. A radical faction believed their species should dominate emerging civilizations, harvesting weaker races to secure their survival indefinitely. Caliph opposed them. She believed in regulated symbiosis, in coexistence. For that she was branded weak. Her ship had been sabotaged by her own commander, left drifting as a warning to others. They abandoned you because you didn't want to be a monster, I said. Yes. And now? Her gaze hardened. Now they believe I am dead. That thought lingered in the air between us. Dead meant forgotten. Or free. But freedom wasn't simple. The Cytherea would eventually discover her survival. And if they did, they would finish what they started. You could drop me at the nearest neutral outpost, she said one night as we stood watching the stars through the viewport. And then what? Yes. I would survive. That's not the same as living. She looked at me carefully. Why do you continue to involve yourself in my fate, human? I shrugged lightly. Maybe I'm tired of the galaxy being run by people who think cruelty equals strength. A faint smile touched her lips. You are unusual. Yeah, I get that a lot. Weeks passed. Our partnership became routine. She assisted with navigation, her species possessing exceptional spatial awareness. I handled the mechanics. She fed sparingly, always asking permission. And something unexpected happened. The hunger in her eyes began to change. Not vanish, but soften. One evening, after repairing a damaged cargo array, I found her standing quietly in the med bay. "Your heart rate accelerates when you are near me," she said without turning. "That's mildly terrifying information to lead with." She faced me. "It is not hunger." And blinked. "Oh." Silence lingered. "In Scythery culture," she continued, "bonding with a life source repeatedly creates resonance." "Resonance," I repeated. "A mutual attunement." I rubbed the back of my neck. "Are you saying?" She stepped closer. "Yes." Her hand rose to my chest again, not to feed but simply to rest there. "My people value power above all," she said softly. "But I have learned something else." "What's that?" "Choice." Her crimson eyes met mine fully. "I was abandoned by my kind," she said. "Yet you chose to save me." My throat tightened slightly. "I'm not your species," I said carefully. "You are not," she agreed. "And that matters less than I once believed." Her voice grew steadier. "In Scythery tradition, when one is rescued from death and sustained beyond survival, a covenant may be offered." Felt my pulse quicken. "What kind of covenant?" Her expression shifted, less predatory now, more vulnerable than I had ever seen her. "A union." The word settled heavily between us. "You're asking me," I began. "I am choosing," she corrected gently. "Not out of need. Not out of hunger." Her eyes glowed softly. "But because I no longer wish to face eternity alone." The galaxy outside the viewport spun in silent indifference. "You understand what that means?" I asked quietly. "Your people may hunt you. Mine may fear you." "Yes. And you'd still choose this." She nodded once. "I was created to feed," she said. "But I choose to love." The simplicity of it shattered every defense I had. I laughed softly in disbelief. "You realize this is insane. Most revolutions begin that way." I stepped closer. "If we do this, it's equal," I said. "No ownership. No dominance." Her expression warmed. "Equal." I took her hand. "Then yes." Her breath caught. "Yes. Yes." For the first time since I found her drifting in the dark. She smiled without hunger. Ending. A different kind of future. The Scythery found us 3 months later. A warship dropped out of warp without warning, weapons charging. I expected fear. Calith did not show any. "They have come to finish what they began," she said calmly. "Or to reclaim you," I muttered. "No," she replied. "They sense change." She stepped toward the comm console and opened a channel before I could stop her. The Scythery commander appeared on screen, cold, severe, crimson eyes burning. "You live," he hissed. "Yes. You were declared extinguished." "Incorrect." His gaze shifted to me. "The human sustains you." "I sustain myself," she replied evenly. "You bond with prey." "He is not prey." Silence followed. "You defy our order. I redefine it." Her voice carried power now, not of hunger but conviction. "We do not need endless conquest to survive," she continued. "We need balance." The commander's eyes narrowed. "You speak treason. I speak evolution." The channel cut abruptly. Weapons powered down. The warship lingered, then warped away. I stared at her. "That's it. For now," she said. "You think they'll listen? Some will. And the others?" Her gaze met mine. "They will learn." Months later, Rumors began spreading across trade networks. A faction within the Cythery Dominion advocating regulated symbiosis, voluntary bonds, cultural exchange. Change was slow, but it had begun. Caliph and I didn't rule empires. We didn't command fleets. We traveled, helping where we could, showing that predator and human could exist without fear. Sometimes when she feeds, it's still intense, but it's shared. Ozen. And when she looks at me now, the crimson in her eyes no longer feels like a threat. Feels like firelight. She was abandoned by her kind, left for dead among the stars. But she chose something different. She chose a human. And in doing so, she chose a future no one thought possible.